And hey there, it's me, Mudlink, and welcome to 2026. I hope you guys had a good Christmas and a Happy New Year. Uh, Surprisingly, it was good for me, and this is going to be the year that a lot of content's going to be coming back because, as you guys saw, ever since I finished streaming at Rebellion Saga, there's been zero content, and there's a really big story about why that happened. So, if you don't really care to hear about what exactly happened in the past, I'd say, half a year, then just skip to the timestamp on screen to where I talk about a lot of the new content that's going to be coming to the channel this year. And I do mean a lot. I have big plans this year. Now, I don't really share a lot of details about my personal life because, it's my life. You guys aren't really a part of it outside of, the friends I have that come onto the channel like Daniel or Game Success or Michael even. So I tend to not really talk about much. A few things maybe I mention here or there, but nothing really big. This, however, it's big. So for the past 8 years or so, I've been living right upstairs with my grandparents. My mother and sister are here too. Basically, the idea was we're all going to be around them more often because, they're getting old. They need a lot more help with stuff. And just being right upstairs from them, it's very convenient. So, I mean, pretty much for the entirety of my content creation on YouTube, I've been up here. And of course, as the years go on, it gets more and more serious having to take care of them. And in the middle of June, my grandmother had to be hospitalized. She unfortunately had kidney failure, so it was a pretty big one. So during that time when she was hospitalized, my mom stayed with her the entire time, which meant that we had to be on the lookout for my grandfather. And most of the time that was me because I'm right upstairs from him. Easier for me to get down there, help him out. So that ate up pretty much most of my free time. When he was asleep and all that, then I could do stuff on my own, but I couldn't really go back upstairs, go on the computer, make content. So I was just on my phone, really. I was doing a Super Sentai marathon before this all started. I actually was doing it, started April 3rd. So it's already been 2 months since I did that, and I'm actually still going strong with that. I only have 10 seasons left to watch. Well, pretty much 9. I'm almost done with Kyoryuger at the moment. I'm sure by the time I upload this video, I'll be at Gozuger. I'm just going in a random order. I'll make a video about that eventually. But yeah, suffice to say, the only real free time I had was, when he was asleep. Because then it was just, either working or being there for him, helping him out. Then after a good while, about, close to the middle of August, my grandmother was moved to a nursing home. My mom was still, of course, around, sticking around with her all the time, but thankfully, we got ourselves a helper to help out downstairs. She's actually still there right now. She does a great job during the weekdays, so it lessened the burden on us. And then after a while, my grandmother actually came back home. For her birthday, actually, we had a little celebration where we were able to bring her home for just a few hours. Had a lot of people come over. It was nice. And then during the month of September, she came back. So we stuck around her a lot. Because she didn't actually get any better. It was basically they brought her home to be like, hey, we want you to be with her in her final moments. Like we don't know how long that's gonna be, but just to be around her. And yeah, on October 26th, just 2 days before my birthday, she passed away in the early hours of the morning. It still hurts to talk about, but I don't think I'll be a blubbering mess talking about it this time. I've done this video about like 8 times, and I'd turn into a mess as soon as I'd start talking about this. And I mean, it's normal, I've been around her for all these years, helping take care of her, and of course she's my grandmother. I've known her my whole life. She was the sweetest lady. Stubborn as a mule, like a lot of Italians, but still sweet. She'd always try to feed us well. In fact, living up here for these past 8 years, I have fattened up. I don't look like Boogie or anything like that. No way, no how. That takes decades to get that fucking fat. But I'm definitely starting to get chunky. So you know how well she wanted to feed us from that. She always wanted the family around. But I mean, we did have to prepare for this eventuality, because they were comfortable talking about death. Both my grandmother and my grandfather, they were comfortable talking about, when it's time for them to go. And there's definitely times when we want to say, hey, don't talk about that right now. I don't want to think about that right now. I understand it's because they wanted us to be prepared. And even if it hit us like a ton of bricks when she passed, it would have been a lot worse if we weren't prepared for it. She tried her best to hold strong, as with being a stubborn old Italian, that's how it can be, It's like, oh, I'm good. I'm still young. I'm still limber. I can do this. But in reality, we can all tell it wasn't going to be too long. And I'm definitely happy she came back home, and I'm definitely happy that she did have that attitude because the day before she passed, we could tell it wasn't going to be much longer. She barely ate. It was hard to look at, honestly. And I'm glad she didn't suffer any longer. She lived a long and happy life. She was 88. We can only dream to be alive that long. Be alive that long. To still have many of your friends still alive. Friends you've been with since you were small, back in the old country, or even when you came here. Anyone would want to know someone that long, be friends with them that long. In fact, in the middle of December, my grandmother's best friend passed away too. She she had a lot of problems, her, a lot of health problems, but I'm glad she's not suffering anymore either. She gets to be in heaven with my grandmother. It was definitely hard, but even before she passed, it was hard because it's always in the back of my mind. When am I gonna get that phone call and I hear the news? Or if something happened to my grandfather, because I won't go into too many details on that end, but he did not hold up well during that whole situation, and honestly, neither did I. With all the hours of me being there with him, it meant I pretty much got no sleep, and it was to the point where I myself was almost hospitalized. I flat out almost passed out at work multiple times. That's how little sleep I got during those times. For instance, when I actually did have the free time to go upstairs and I tried recording with Daniel, something still wasn't right for me. I wasn't right in the head, and I ended up deleting those videos. So I'll talk more about it in a later section when I talk about my new series and all that. What exactly happened with the GX Shadow Lock, but suffice to say, when I did try to make videos, the very little I could, nothing seemed right. So I wanted to wait until it was a good time, and I guess now it's a good time. Everything's boiled over. Although at the time of recording this, I have to go to another funeral. By the time I upload this, I'll have already gone to that funeral. It's hard talking about this, but at the same time, it helps. It's like at every funeral, they tell you, don't remember the sad times. Remember the happy times. Remember all the great memories you had with this person. Especially with her. I've all my life I've known her. I have so many good memories of her, and it makes me think about so many different possibilities that could have happened over the years. Every time I go to visit my uncle in the cemetery, and now recently with her, every time I come up the elevator, the first gravestone I see is of a 5-year-old girl. And it just puts into perspective how lucky I was to not only still be alive, but to have people that I have known for so many years be around for a long time. You know, I can only imagine that family, how they must feel, going to see that. Just going to see a 5-year-old in a cemetery. I can just imagine how I know I can barely imagine the pain they must go through. All this rambling aside, it's good that I was able to remember all the happy times with her. And I was able to get through this without being a giant blubbering mess. So, enough with the sad times. This is a new year. Let's start with the happy times. So, see you guys in a little bit when I am happier talking about the new content on the channel. So now let's talk about the new content on the channel. So, well, instead of the new, let's talk about the old that I talked about before. So, the GX Shadow Lock. Now, I still plan on doing this. In fact, I have had 2 failed attempts for doing this series. The first one happened not too long after I beat Rebellion Saga, but during that time my hard drive became corrupted, so I lost so much footage for there. And the second time I did this, I wasn't in the right headspace, as I mentioned before. So of course, the series will come back. I don't have a finite date yet, but it's gonna come back. I'm actually recording another series with Daniel, and you can probably guess what that series is, but that's not gonna see the light of day for a good while. In fact, you're probably gonna see the Shadow Lock before that. But I plan on recording that first, and then going back to the Shadow Lock. The next thing is the Cage Lock. So, Michael and I decided on the game. We did randomize it, then realized with the randomizer settings we did have, we couldn't use Showdown at all. So, we have to change the randomization settings for it, and that's about as far as we got. So, I do want that to come out this year, but don't hold your breath on it. I do have things to make up for it, though, which I'll talk about later. Next, I want to talk about streaming. So, when I was streaming Rebellion Saga, you guys saw a lot of problems I had with it. OBS was fucking with me so many times, and I wasn't understanding it. And, there's times I think I fixed the issue, but then it comes back. So I'm taking a break from streaming. Pokemon Unbound will eventually come back as a stream series, of course. Same for the Steel Man. Insurgent, however, won't come back as a stream series. You'll see why in a bit. And lastly, for stuff I talked about before, Tails gets trolled, so I couldn't record the newest chapter that came out with the game success, and I also couldn't do the review with him. But that's gonna change. This year we're gonna, of course, be reading chapter 29, and whenever chapter 30 comes out, and we're gonna be working on part 1 of the review. When that review is gonna come out, it's gonna be this year. I do promise you this. Obviously if things get in the way, I'll have to tell you guys, but outside of extenuating circumstances, it will come out this year, part 1 of the review. I'm very much looking forward to it. And speaking of, we're gonna get to the new content portion of this, because I have more stuff planned, and this is stuff I haven't talked about yet. So this is something I am actually doing with Game Success alongside Tails Gets Trolled. It's going to be a lengthy endeavor, this one, but it shouldn't eat into the making of the part 1 of the review or reading Tails Gets Trolled and all that. But it's still something we're both doing. So Game Success mentioned to me that he wanted to do a certain series on his channel. He wanted to review a certain show. And it was a show I've recommended to him too many times to count. Like, he's always talked about recommending me, BoJack Horseman, continuing it. And the series he wanted to review on his channel, I've told him about so many times to watch. So when he told me he wanted to do a review series for this show, I threw my hat into the ring and said, you know what, fuck it. I want to do it too. Because it is my favorite show of all time. And it's been forever since I did a review. So what is this elusive favorite show of mine? Well, it's one of the best shows to ever exist, period. Is one of the most highly regarded dramas of all time. And of course, as an Italian, I fucking love it. So the both of us are going to be reviewing The Sopranos. The Sopranos, of course, is a show that needs no other introduction. It's one of the best shows to ever exist. It's one of the most influential shows to come out, and for good reason. David Chase locked the fuck in with this TV show, and I want to show my love for it. there's already so many different kinds of videos on The Sopranos with how big it is. But, you know, even if I might not bring anything that's super unique to the table, I still want to talk about it. Well, I do mention that Game Success and I are doing a review series for The Sopranos. We're not really collaborating. I might help him out, like, here and there for script writing. He might help me out a little here and there for script writing. But we're going to be doing it on our channels. So it's going to be seasonal. So we're going to be reviewing one season at a time, and there's going to be gaps in between. More than likely, this review series won't end this year, because there's a lot to go through for this. I don't plan on making them like super long reviews like, you know, Pete Rice does when he does the episode rankings, or other people when they do fucking 4 hours deep dive on the first season, or just on the show in general. I still want to make a lengthy review, but not super lengthy. Both of us are going to be uploading this at the same time, so he'll upload his season 1 review, I'll upload my season 1 review on the same day, and we're going to be, of course, you know, saying, hey, like, I'll say like, hey, you know, Game Success just did his season 1 review of The Sopranos, go ahead and check it out, he did a good job on it, and he'll do the same thing for me on his channel. He plans on actually talking about this on the 27th, so it is a slight spoiler for, you know, for his stuff, but we don't really have too much interaction like with my subscribers and his subscribers, so it shouldn't be a big deal. I am very much looking forward to talking about my favorite show of all time, and I can't wait to show this to my friend, you know? Get to watch it with someone who hasn't seen it. Hear it. Like, he's seen a few clips, knows what happens with the ending. That's about it. So when the season 1 review will come out, it's gonna be a while, you know? Game Success and I are gonna be watching it together, so we'll take time to watch episodes, write notes for it. So this is gonna be a lengthy endeavor. Like I mentioned before, we're more than likely gonna finish this review series next year, maybe even in 2 years, who knows. Now, I mentioned Pokemon Insurgents not being a stream series anymore. That's because I want it to return as a recorded series with Ness, and it's actually going to be an egg lock now. So how the egg lock works, I'll explain it like within the video series, but the egg lock is a Nuzlocke, but you only use eggs that are given to you. Now, usually in like these kind of games, you know, the reviewers submit eggs, but Insurgents actually has its own randomly generated eggs for the egg lock, which is cool as shit, you know? So I get to have fun with that. And, you know, it helps with, you know, doing a recorded series instead of a stream series because, you know, I don't need as much time to stream that I do for recording with him, you know? So take the stress off myself for my free time. Plus, you know, with all the issues that happened with streaming before, I want to take a break from that. So that's going to be coming back as a fun little series, one that's going to come out eventually. It's going to be coming out this year, you know. Outside of the 25th Let's Play and the next thing I plan to talk about, there's no, like, finite date. But outside of it just being, you know, coming out this year. And speaking of one of those videos that has a finite date, I plan on doing a rant video again. Now, I've had plans to do rant videos before. For instance, the whole hack situation. I was originally going to make a video about that, but I decided against it. And honestly, I wish I didn't, but it is what it is, you know. I missed the opportunity for that, but it's not the end of the world. This rant, however, that I plan on doing is actually one I wanted to do last February. It's about a guy that has pissed me off in a more unique way compared to like say Jim Sterling, but it's still someone that is, he makes my blood boil anytime I hear him talk about stuff. It's gonna be quite the spicy rant to say the least. I plan on uploading a version that's gonna be exclusive to BitChute and Rumble, just as an idea of how spicy it can get, because I'm not gonna hold back against this guy. As to who he is, I'll give a hint that pretty much gives it away, but if you don't know, you don't know. It's about a man that, quote-unquote, exposes the grift. That's all I'm going to say on that. And lastly, the 25th Let's Play. Now, I did have another game that I wanted to play for this. I did actually record some episodes of that until, you know, my hard drive got corrupted. This is why you back up videos. I backed up all my videos now, even ones that I can easily get. from YouTube without like any issues. For this, I couldn't really back them up, so I had to scrap it. And then I decided to play a different game because I wasn't ready to tackle that game. It's a long, like I mentioned in videos in the past, it was going to be my longest Let's Play, but I just couldn't really get the right idea of what I wanted to do with that game quite yet. So I'll hold off on that. I'll play that game eventually because it is a game that holds specially in my heart, but it is what it is. Now, when it came to deciding what I want to do instead, it took a while. I've had so many different ideas rattling around in my brain until it hit me. Your channel name is called Mudlink. Are you ever gonna play a fucking Zelda game? The Legend of Zelda is far and away my favorite video game franchise of all time. Outside of Tears of the Kingdom, I have checked out every single Zelda release that has come out, and most of the time I have a really good time with it. I'm always a fan of the dungeon crawling, I'm always a fan of the atmosphere of a lot of the games, I'm a big fan of the music. Koji Kondo is my favorite composer of all time. Yoko Shimomura is talented, but if you were to put a gun to my head, to say, hey, name your favorite composer or else I'm gonna shoot, I'll still struggle a bit, but I will still say Koji Kondo in the end. He just has the right idea of what kind of music fits the atmosphere at any time. And it gets to the point where, you're sucked into the world. That is a very talented composer. Is one that makes music that is so natural for the atmosphere that you just feel like you're in it. So when it came to deciding which game, there was always, quite a few options I can go with, because I love so many Zelda games. Could have been Majora's Mask, one of the best Zelda games of all time, one of the best video games of all time, flat out. Given so much love, given so much attention over the many years that has been released. Not the 3DS version, no one talks about that version, ever, please, don't. There's of course Twilight Princess, which has got a lot of love recently from, well, it came from Chuck Conroy, but other Let's Players have decided to check it out, mostly in part due to him. I could have even went with Breath of the Wild, but even with all these different options I could have went with, there was always one answer for the first Zelda game I was going to play on the channel, especially for a special Let's Play like this. So, for the 25th Let's Play, it's going to be The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. Now, the original Wind Waker, I'm actually not the biggest fan of. It's not a bad game per se, but there's certain things holding it back from really being great. The additions that the HD version adds elevate the game so much, to the point where it's absolutely my favorite Zelda game of all time. I've always been a big fan of traveling around the Great Sea. I've always been a fan of the different islands you go to, the different characters you meet, the story, music. To me, it's the perfect Zelda game. Some may disagree, but who cares? There's so many great Zelda games out there that will still fit that mold too, but for me it's Wind Waker, as the #1 answer for that. So, starting tomorrow will be the first episode, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this Let's Play, because, this game helped me rekindle my love for wanting to do these videos again. Because honestly, with how little free time I still have with work, I could just say fuck it and not do videos anymore, but this is still fun to me. So that's why I want to still do it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy that. I hope you guys enjoy all the future content that I plan on bringing out. Hope you guys are excited, because I definitely am very excited to do all these videos. So many different projects I didn't think I'd be making for this year, but I am. Of course, circumstances notwithstanding, I can get all these out for this year. I can make good on these promises. So, I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow with Wind Waker HD, and of course, seeing you guys in the future for all these other video series that I plan on doing. Take care, everyone.